I think they should be able to hear you good now because I turned it up a
Yeah,
little bit.
before it was a bit quiet, so I just have
Okay.
to turn my volume up a bit.
I'm good, buddy. Thanks. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Um, this quality dope. Okay, so this is I guess the first official podcast episode of the Calcio catch up. Calcio in Italian means soccer. Um, so we're gonna be doing our Champions League knockout stage. Better than Jagoda's. I could be talking through a potato and it would be better than Jagoda's. Um, so this is the first podcast episode. Um, we're going to be talking about the UEFA Champions League knockout stage, giving our predictions, what we think a little bit. We're going to touch back on this closer to the actual games because there's still like a whole transfer window that needs to happen. Um, and there's a lot of variables that can happen between now and the time that the games take place. Um, we're not going to be looking at chat too much just because I want it to be more of like a formal podcast. This will be going up on YouTube after. Uh, and yeah, that's about it. Um, so I guess first we'll do a little introduction. I'm Luca.
I'm John.
Um, I've known John for a while. John doesn't know much about soccer, and he's also not that good. Um, no, I was playing, but yeah. So we're gonna hop right into it. First game that we have on the cards is PSG versus Real Madrid. The last time these two teams met was in 2018 in the knockout stage, with Real Madrid winning 5-2 on aggregate. This one brings up a lot of interesting topics and points. I don't know if there's a clear winner right off the bat. However, I do think one thing that will be important is Champions League DNA, which obviously Real Madrid is rich of. What do you think you want to make of this, John?
I don't know. I think the Champions League DNA is an interesting point because I think for some cases it applies, especially when it's a lot of the same key players are still playing for each team. So
Mhm.
like the Neymars, the Mbappes, the Marquinhos, the Verrattis, the Cruz, the Modric,
Yep.
a lot of those guys are still playing. So I think it might affect it. Although with that said, two big losses for Real Madrid now are Ronaldo and Ramos, who are probably the two most important players in that team.
Yep.
Ramos now on PSG, not the same player,
No.
and Ronaldo obviously in Manchester. So I think it's going to be an interesting tie.
Yeah, I think so too. I do think that one takeaway that Madrid, I think, pretty clearly dominates PSG is the midfield. Regardless of age, I think Modric, Kroos, and Casemiro has been pretty much like a focal point from even in the Ronaldo era, right? Um,
Yeah,
I do think that uh, even if they were going up against a somewhat equal midfield, but PSG's midfield is not up to the standards of Madrid, in my opinion.
I agree. Even with Verratti in the PSG midfield, I don't think him by himself is going to be
No,
enough to like even combat the
no,
midfield that Madrid have, which is crazy. Like Modric is, I think, 36 now.
yeah, he's getting up
Still,
there.
still high level. He's
Yeah,
still high level.
yeah. I do think though that
So
if PSG do want to increase their chances, I do think that Verratti needs to be healthy and needs to be playing.
I agree.
Um, because on his day when he's healthy and actually in the starting lineup, the guy's world class. I think I don't know if there's any disputing that. But it's going to be interesting though because as much as we're saying the stuff about Madrid being able to dominate in some aspects, with the attack that PSG have, I think you know they could turn the tie around in 5 minutes
Yeah,
with the attack they have.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like after the winter break, we'll see. Is if Messi plays like we all know Messi can play, I think
Mhm.
that's going to be huge. And if Neymar is going to be healthy, or if
Wants
he's
to
out
play.
doing other things,
Yeah,
wants to play,
yeah,
we'll leave it at that. um,
yeah.
then
Well,
then it's
because
going to be
yeah,
that's like the
because
game changer for me.
I agree. I think 'cause right before um the break, Messi, it looked like Messi and Mbappe were kind of on the same wavelength a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
I do think it, like, as crazy it is to say, I think Mbappe is the most dangerous one out of the three, um,
Oh, for sure.
especially this season. Um,
Yeah.
but I do think over the break, those three know that like what this competition is and who they're playing. I wouldn't count them
Yep.
out just to, have those like 1-1 games against Renee, where they kind of struggle a little bit. I do think that they know what the Champions League is and what it's about, and they'll be able to step up a little bit.
Yeah. Although what's interesting is like with Mbappe, is he distracted by wanting to play for Madrid because he's come out many times and been like, "Hey,
Yeah.
Madrid is where I want to play," and he's even talked like I know Forbiddy was talking about maybe moving there like for this transfer window
Right.
coming up. So is that going to affect him in this game, or who
Yeah.
knows, right?
I guess maybe it's like a little tryout. If he plays good, then we'll have to spend more money
Yeah,
on him or something.
that's how it
Um,
is.
I do think though that we can't not talk about how good Vinny and Benzema have been this season.
Oh yeah,
Um, do you think that they can match up against, a PSG attack of Messi, Neymar, Mbappe?
I think if you look at that on paper, you'd say no, but I think when you actually look at how they've played this season and form, I think honestly Vinicius and Benzema have been in better form
Better
than
form.
Mbappe
Yep.
and Messi together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I agree. I think they complement each other really well because Benz is that classic number nine, and then Vinny, even though
Yeah,
he's more so like out in the wing and stuff, he kind of reminds me of just like that, creative guy that can go out and do whatever he wants, and then Benzema's kind of
yeah,
the pillar there. Um, but like I said, you never can count out Messi, Neymar, Mbappe.
no,
Um, so with that being said, I want to do our predictions of who we think is going to win in a potential aggregate score line. So what do you think? What are you thinking for this one?
I think it's going to be close. I think the defense for both is hit or miss, so I'm
Mhm.
probably go with like a 4-3 PSG win.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with I think 4-3 PSG win, and then after that, I think that momentum will carry the winner of that game probably to at least the semifinals.
semifinals. I agree. I was actually thinking, I was thinking 4-3 PSG as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if it switches and it's a
Yeah.
4-3 Real Madrid. I don't see this
Hmm.
being a low scoring tie simply from the fact that the one consistent thing about both of these teams is that their defense have been inconsistent.
Yeah.
Um, I don't see this being a low scoring tie. However, I am going to give the edge to PSG. I'm also going to say 4-3.
Yeah. With that
So
said, Real Madrid could easily win this tie as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I
This match.
think I think this is the
It's like
most evenly matched one. To be
I
completely
agree.
honest.
I agree. It's like a flip of a coin.
Yeah. All right. So moving on from that, we next up have Sporting and Manchester City. The last time these two teams met was 2012. Sporting actually won on aggregate 3-3. However, Man City, the classic, they get the easy draw, both in the group and in the knockout stage. Does Sporting have any chance at winning this?
No.
No.
Man
I
City are literally cruising right now. Even in the Premier League, I watched them yesterday. They didn't even play a good game, yet they still won.
yeah.
So even if Man City would really like Ruben Diaz would have to get injured and like De Bruyne would both have to be out of the game for it to even be close, I think.
Yeah, I
I
think
think it would have to
so.
be like that catastrophic.
I think so too. Yeah, I don't see any scenario unless something like that happens. Another thing, another variable is COVID. You never know
Hmm.
with stuff going on if like I know personally I watch a lot of basketball and I like the Raptors. What's up, Joe? Um, we have to play a game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we had four people that actually were rostered on our team at the very like start of the season, and we have to sign four guys on it to a 10-day contract just so we could play a game. So I'm not saying
Yeah.
something like that is going to happen, but you never know with COVID, right?
Oh yeah.
There's a break or they travel and some of the team gets it. You never know. Unless something like that happens, um, I don't see any scenario where Sporting wins. However,
No.
in saying that, I think City need to just take care of business. The sooner they get the
Yeah,
tie over, even in the first leg, the more time they can focus on, the Premier League. Because I think they're clear by 6 points, right?
I think
Implement
last
mandatory
night they made it
vaccine.
8. I think they made it 8.
8.
I think last
Mandatory
night was
vaccine.
8.
The FIGC implemented mandatory vaccine mandates for players in Italy, so I'm not sure what that means for visiting teams. Oh, so like everyone needs to be vaccinated to go in? That could be like a even
Interesting.
better home field advantage. Um, I do think though, like I was saying, um, I think City just need to wrap this up in the first leg. That way, between
Hmm.
rest and the Premier League and stuff like that, I think the sooner they get the tie over, the better. Um,
Although, like with that said, we have to remember Sporting did beat Dortmund,
yep,
so they have that kind of element of surprise about them. They are top of the league, and historically, Man City fluke these kinds of games like Lyon's, the Monaco's. It's kind of like games you would expect a team like Manchester City, a Pep Guardiola team, to win.
yep,
They choke. I don't know. It's weird. Even
yeah,
last year in the final, everyone thought they got over that demon after beating Bayern Munich, but they went to the final, and again, Pep overthinks it, and they lose. So who
yep,
knows? But that'd be. I still
yeah,
think that's far fetched at this point.
yes, I agree. Joe, I don't know how to flip my camera on here because we're on Discord, so I don't know if I can. I don't know. I'll try and figure it out. That being said, where say there is a scenario where we think Sporting can try and attack City, I was thinking where can they try and exploit them because City are a very attacking team. They like to get forward, especially their fullbacks like Joao Cancelo. He's been in unbelievable form this year. Kyle Walker's a pretty consistent player. Do we think that they can try and exploit them? Maybe sit back and try and hit them on the counter, or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think we saw that in the Liverpool game this year when Man City played Liverpool. I remember a lot of the time it was that over the top ball. Obviously, Sporting don't have Mohamed Salah on their team, but
Yep.
some fast winger getting in behind like that always causes problems for teams who play
Yep.
that high line and that very attacking football.
Yep.
So
Um, and then with that being said, I have two more things I kind of wanted to touch on. Uh, Ruben Diaz. He's getting a lot of hype, rightfully so. The guy he's a quality center back. He came in from it was Benfica, right? Came in
yeah, he's
Benfica.
yeah, yeah. It was Benfica, I think.
He's adjusted pretty well in the Premier League. However, do we think that he's really all that? I see a lot of things saying that he's arguably one of the best center backs in the world. Top three, maybe even the best in the Prem. Uh, Where's our stance on him?
I think he's a good player. I think he's really good on the ball, but I think I don't think he's the best in the Premier League for sure. I think Virgil van Dijk is
Yeah,
head and shoulders better than him. And despite Diaz being he's a big guy.
yeah,
He's a strong, fast guy. If you go back and watch when City played Dortmund, there's one play where Haaland, obviously it's Haaland, but
yeah,
he bullied him
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
So I don't think
I think I
I
remember
think he
which one
still
you're
has a lot
talking
of work.
about.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah,
still has a lot of work to be done, but
and
I
he's
think
still
the
young. He's
foundation's there.
only he's
Yeah,
only what
that's what I'm saying.
23, 24, I think.
Yeah,
He's not
the
old by any
foundations are there.
means. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
just don't
foundations are
think
there.
he's at that, you know, I don't know if I want to call him like world class, but he's definitely up there in terms of center backs in the world. I
Hmm.
just don't know if he's, ahead of the Van Dykes of the world.
I agree.
Um,
But like I said, the foundations are there for it, so
yeah, agree.
who knows?
Then last point, assuming City get by Sporting here, do we think that this could be City's year, or do we think that they're going to, uh, kind of run into the same problems that they've been facing recently?
Uh, it's tough to say because I think they play slightly better this year. I think, but I still without a number nine, you're not going to win this kind of competition
Right.
because it's also the case in the final where it's such a close game that you need that one player in the box. That one player just has like that clinicalness, and I
Yeah,
don't think City
killer
have.
instinct. Yeah,
Not
something,
going to have
someone
one
like
like that.
a Sergio Aguero that they had before. Um,
Yeah.
I think that in a game like this, I don't know if it'll really affect them that much.
No.
But say, they do come up against a Bayern or a Liverpool or something like that,
Yeah.
where I don't know if I don't know if that lack of a number nine. I think that might be evident, but who knows? It might even work out to be that they play I don't want to compare this team to that Barcelona team, but Lionel Messi wasn't necessarily a true number nine. He plays in
Yeah.
the false nine role, but
Yeah.
you never know. So I do think that City are going to win this decently easily. I'm
Yeah.
going to go with a 5-1 aggregate score in favor of City. And
Yeah.
what are you thinking?
I think it's gonna be 6-0 Man City. I don't think Sporting are gonna touch the ball much, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, I don't,
I'm gonna
I
go
can
out.
see the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of building off of that as well, another relatively easy matchup. We have Bayern Munich versus Salzburg. They actually met
Mm.
last year in the group stage. The last time that they played, Bayern won 6-2. I'm going to lead
Yeah.
off where I kind of led off with the last one. Do you think Salzburg has any shot at winning this time?
No.
No. Yeah, I agree.
It would be
Yeah,
catastrophic again.
yeah. Um, Again, similar type deal. I think that Bayern need to take care of business, get the game over in the first leg. Um, I don't know. I think with these bigger teams playing the smaller ones, the easier, or sorry, the more they win in the first leg, it just makes everything way easier. They can rest players for bigger games. They can focus their attention elsewhere. That being said, you also
Yeah.
don't want to take the game for granted. It's not a guaranteed win. You actually need to show up and play. Speaking of
Mhm.
showing up, Leroy Sané this season has been just on another level. He was a
Yeah.
little underwhelming last season, I thought, just because he was so good at Man City and then
Hmm.
needed to find his feet a little bit. But what do you make of him this season?
Yeah, I think so impressive. Especially, he also had a pretty poor Euros. He
Yeah,
wasn't very good at the Euros, so I was a little worried this year coming in, and then I don't know. Nagelsmann found a way to get the best out of him. I think this is the best we've ever seen Leroy Sané, and
I
he's
think
still
so
only
too.
25,
Yep.
25, 26. So there's still room for a lot of growth can be done with him. And I think, especially his numbers in the Champions League, he's got 5 goals, 4 assists, or
Yeah.
something like that. He is
Yeah.
a
No,
lot
he's
to
balling
handle
this
for the
season
team.
for sure. Um, Another one of his teammates, Lewandowski, does not need an
Oh,
introduction. Um, I wanted to touch on this a little bit just as it's kind of fresh in our minds, but do we think that Lewandowski was robbed of the Ballon d'Or?
yeah, 100%. Like,
Mhm.
I don't. I think everybody who listens to this podcast, I think everybody who knows anything about soccer can appreciate Leo Messi as a player,
Yep.
who he is, what he's done. But I don't think,
Yeah,
despite him winning the Copa America, he's even towards like this season for PSG, he's been awful,
yeah, definitely not up
like awful.
to Leo Messi
No,
standards. Uh,
up to anyone's standards.
yeah,
He's got like 1 goal or 2 goals, I think, this
yep,
season in the league. Like,
yeah. As much like I know that stats don't tell the whole story. Like I just
no,
don't think that he's been up to like anywhere close to where he wants to be at from a professional level. Um, I remember talking with you and like some of our other friends about this. I don't think it's a matter of Messi not deserving to win it. I just think that Lewandowski deserved it more, in my opinion.
yeah,
I don't think it should have been like, oh, why did Messi win or whatever. You can make a case that he could have won. I don't think that you can say that he shouldn't have won it or he didn't deserve to be in the contention. I just think that Lewandowski was better and deserved it
yeah,
more, in my opinion. Uh, However, for Salzburg, Pessi sucks. Um, but for Salzburg, though, as much as I don't see them winning the tie, Adeyemi from Salzburg,
Ooh,
he has been balling this season. Even last year, he's
yeah,
looking like a quality player. I think he's only 19, I believe.
yeah. He's
Uh,
born in 2002.
yep. Definitely one for the future, in my opinion. I think that he'll be one of the very few bright spots for Salzburg in this tie. I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if you see him or like a Florian Wirtz get snatched by Bayern in the next year or two. Um, I don't watch too much Bundesliga, but from like what I've seen in him from like highlights and stuff on, Twitter and Instagram, he looks to be pretty legit, especially only at the age of 19. So we'll see where it goes from there. In terms of a score prediction, what are you thinking for this one?
Mm, like I'm gonna go like 8-1 Bayern Munich,
Yeah. I'm
maybe even
thinking,
9.
yeah, I was thinking 6-1. I was thinking like a maybe four, like a 4-0 or like a 4-1 in the
Hmm.
first leg, and then Bayern just kind of cruise through the second leg, maybe a 2-0, and then uh
Well, the thing with Bayern is they don't stop.
no, they
It's
don't.
5-0. They're scoring as
Yeah.
many as they
Well,
can.
that's the
So
thing. That's why, and we watched the Bayern Barca game, the last match day, and we were saying how like Bayern Munich technically play a possession based soccer. They play possession, but what people think about possession is, me being Italian, you watch like a former Italy team where they'd play a 3-5-2 and they would just sit back and then they'd knock the ball around for, half the game.
yeah,
Bayern don't play like that. Bayern dominate the possession 70 to 30, but it's not just them, knocking the ball around, playing backwards like negative passes. They attack with a purpose and they keep the ball. It is like it is crazy to watch. It's I think it was like the 90th minute, Barca or Bayern are up 3-0 and you have their fullbacks making runs into the box. And
yeah,
it's me being a Juve fan, I'm very jealous of the way they play because Juve try to play possession, but Rabiot likes to just knock it back to Chesney and then
oh
um
my,
yeah. So Bayern I think they're the favorite, to be honest. I think they're going to win. They're my favorite at least. Um Pending that, like I said at the beginning, there's still a whole transfer window and injuries and COVID and everything. Um, if they can stay healthy, I don't find a reason why they can't
yeah,
win it this year. Um, yeah. So moving on from that one, I think we have our first kind of with Liverpool Inter Milan. I do think that Inter Milan are the underdog in this tie, obviously. Um, However, I do think that this poses an interesting matchup. I think Inter Milan can cause a decent amount of problems for Liverpool. The last time they met was in 2008, and Liverpool won 3-0 on aggregate. Um, One thing I do want to talk about is just Inter are top of the league in Serie A right now. However, I don't know if they're deep enough to sustain both Serie A and Champions League success. Um, so, with that being said, I don't think that Liverpool are going to face too many problems. I don't know what you make of that.
yeah. I agree. I think despite Inter being, you know, the former champs of the City A and they're still top of the league this year, and Liverpool aren't top of the league of the Premier League, I
Yep.
think with Virgil van Dijk back, you can really see the difference that he makes in that Liverpool team.
Yep.
It seems like he helps everybody, and Mo Salah's on the form of his life.
Yep.
And even despite Mane not being as sharp or Firmino, Jota's come into his own a
Yep.
lot.
Jota's been
You know,
very good.
he's got 10 goals this season in the Premier League, and I think Liverpool will handle this.
I think so too. I do as much as I don't like Inter, I do think that they're gonna win it again this year in the Serie A. However, they have a very good team for Serie A. I just don't think they have enough to compete both in both competitions. The attacking options for Liverpool, I do think are going to cause a lot of issues for Inter, simply due to their formation and the pace that they attack with. Liverpool is just, I think it's going to be too much to handle for Inter between Skriniar, Bastoni, and De Vrij. I do think they're a solid trio at the back. I do think Skriniar is a little overrated in my opinion. I think he's actually the worst one out of the three. Um, I don't see an option where Inter can win this. I think Lautaro and Dzeko up top have been pretty good for Inter. Çalhanoğlu's been Pretty amazing this season coming from Milan. I do think that though, like that front three can pose some issues. I just don't think it's enough to uh, beat Liverpool. Uh
Yeah, I
oh,
agree.
We got a Liverpool fan in the chat now. Here we go.
Awesome.
LFC are
No, I
getting
think
their seventh. I don't know. We'll
who
see.
knows.
It's gonna
Like I
be
said
interesting.
though, like I think what Liverpool have done really well this season is making sure that Van Dijk has been
Yep.
properly integrated back. You know, a
Yep.
lot. I think if Van Dijk gets injured, I think
Yeah. Well,
that's their
because
season
I even
completely over.
think I agree. I even think from a mental standpoint, like take away the actual like football aspect. Um,
Yeah,
I think it just gives everyone confidence on the pitch, knowing that Van Dijk is back there again. He's their
yeah,
captain. Um, you could argue he's their best player, and like having someone like that, like a leader in your team back, and the quality that he has, um, I think Liverpool just brings everyone up to another level. I think Liverpool. I don't even know if I can call them a sleeper, um, but I think they're my I definitely think that people are more so going for the PSG, the City, the Bayern in terms of their favorites. I would not be surprised to see Liverpool playing in the final.
I agree. I think I personally would rate Liverpool's chances of winning the competition above Manchester
I
City's,
think so too. I
especially if Salah can continue the form.
Yep,
I like
especially
Liverpool's chances.
Crow says that currently behind City, I believe our mindset is now shifting to the UCL over the league IMO. I agree as well. I
I
think
agree with
that
that. Yeah.
I think that City are going to focus more on the Premier League because they already have a lead. Um, Liverpool could pose a comeback. I just think that they're going to shift their. I was going to touch on it. I think they're going to shift their focus more over to the Champions League. Um,
Yeah, and I
but yeah,
mean, and why not, right?
yeah,
Like after the Leicester loss that just happened a couple days ago, and I don't know,
they would need a lot
eight
for
points right
them.
now is a lot.
Yeah,
8 points is a lot, especially
yeah.
with Man City being the ones leading. I think 8 points is a lot, but
Guess
I
above
think
you is different. Yeah, I agree, Crow. Yep, Crow says that depth is too strong for City in the Prem. You can't
hmm
slip up. Whereas in the UCL, the depth doesn't matter as much because it's your strongest 11, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
yep, no, I agree. I do think that Liverpool are going to win the tie against Milan. I do think that it'll be a good win for them too because Milan is not a cakewalk. Um, I I'm gonna go. I think it's gonna be somewhat close. I'm gonna go 5-3 Liverpool on aggregate.
Mm. I'm gonna go a little lower. I think it's 3-1 Liverpool on aggregate. I think
So
the first leg's gonna be 1-1 and close, but in the second leg, I think
the quality
Liverpool
will come through.
Klopp will figure out how Milan sort of play.
Yeah. Crow's asking, isn't Milan a completely different team compared to last year? Yes and no. I mean, they lost Lukaku. Um, Dzeko has been he has I think he already has 11 league goals this season. Which is good for a striker that's around 35, 36.
Good for any striker.
Lautaro, yeah. Lautaro is starting to hit his form. Çalhanoğlu again. I think the one thing that is iffy with Inter is their midfield. Um, they do have a relatively similar team, but I don't think it's gonna be enough to get by Liverpool. And the second leg is at Anfield as well. So if there's
Yeah,
any questioning the tie, I think that that'll definitely be um, that could be a deciding factor.
yeah,
Moving
exactly.
on to the next matchup is Villarreal and Juve. These two teams have never met. Juve have 25 wins, 16 draws, and 25 losses when facing Spanish opponents. We suck. Yes, Juve are not in the greatest of form right now. It's actually kind of embarrassing that the fact that this is going to be a evenly contested tie just based off of the history with Juve. Me being a Juve fan, a couple things that they need to work on. They need reinforcements in the January transfer market. We were talking about it. Uh, a midfielder and a striker are two musts, in my opinion. Um, just based off of they have way too many people that are way too inconsistent and are not deserving to wear the shirt, which is unfortunate. What do you think about their formation as well? Because they're currently playing a lot of 4-4-2, and I just don't think that suits their players that they have.
No, I agree. I think with the 4-4-2, your two center midfielders have to be the real deal.
Yeah.
And Rabiot and Bentancur, or Rabiot and whoever wants to play, because Rabiot I think is the most consistent one in that midfield, right? He's usually,
Yeah, he Allegri plays him a lot for some reason.
which I have very strong opinions on him. I think he
Yeah.
is one of the worst players at the club.
Oh, I agree.
Very
I
worst.
think he's one of the worst players that plays at a top club, I think.
I
That
agree.
that that
He gives,
starts, that plays.
yeah, and he
Uh
gets paid pretty big money too in
oh
that club. I know
yes.
that.
Yeah.
So
Um
I think, I
yeah,
think, I think Locatelli and Artur. I think though if those two play, I think, in my opinion, that's the best two midfielders you guys can play in that.
agreed. Yep.
Um, so I think if those two play, I think you should be able to control. And I think a big one is Dybala. If Dybala's healthy, he's always a game changer.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Despite his injuries and whatnot, I think Dybala is always going to be a game changer on that team. So if he plays, I think Juve should see this through.
Yeah, I agree. There was a saying when Dybala came back last year after being off for like a couple months, and he scored against Napoli. It was uh, people in Italy were saying, form is temporary, but class is permanent. When Dybala is healthy and playing, the guy is a world class player, in my opinion.
I
However,
agree.
is he going to be healthy is the question. Another one is Chiesa. He's been somewhat of a shadow of himself. I do think that um, Allegri is not utilizing him in the correct way, especially in the 4-4-2. He's also been injured, but he had an interview and he said that he decided not to take a holiday this year just because um, he was injured and he wants to get back to his best form in 2022. So he kind of skipped over the holiday break, I guess. I think if those two
Right.
play, um, yeah, we have been playing the 4-2-3-1 going into the break, which I think suits the players that we have way better.
Yep.
So I do think that if we have those players back, if Juve can maybe make a little splash in the transfer market, uh, and Allegri decides not to play a formation that you know puts us behind the eight ball from the start of the game, I do think that Juve should see this through. However, Villarreal can be a very dangerous team. They do have some
Oh
pretty
yeah.
quality players. They have Gerard Moreno, uh, Pau Torres, Danny Parejo. Like they have some quality players that see minutes for Spain. They have a solid lineup. Defensively, they struggle a little bit, but in attack, they look pretty
Yeah.
good. Which I mean, I feel like that's the case for a lot of Spanish teams.
Hmm.
Um, where do you think that Villarreal can try and make an upset here?
Well, firstly, I think Juve, especially in previous years, kind of lose the game through their own hands, if that makes sense. The
Yep.
mistakes they make at the back, like especially with a player like Gerard Moreno, who could put the ball in the back of the net. Any mistake, he's going to put it in the net. And
Yep.
I think Villarreal is one of those teams where if you don't take them seriously, they will beat you.
Oh yeah.
We saw that with Manchester United the first half. It was cruisy, it was loose, and they were losing. Of course, they have
Yep.
the ultimate ace card in Ronaldo.
Yep.
But I think if Juve can take this game seriously, they should beat them. But if they come in anything less than 100%, they're going to really struggle, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And or like a Bentancur against Porto when he loses the ball with no pressure on his back in the first minute of the game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I do think that Juve should see this. They need to exercise their demons a little bit, and it's been 3 years that they've gotten the worst matchup, I guess, if you want to call it. They need to take advantage of that. Um, between getting Ajax, the first year that Ronaldo was there, the next year getting Lyon, and then last year getting Porto. They need to take advantage of this because they're lucky that they weren't drawing these top teams. If we lose the tie, I'm burning my Juve merch. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm almost at that point too. They need to take care of business. Simple as that. Um,
I agree.
so with that being said, moving on to the next leg, we have Chelsea versus Lille. Chelsea won both of the meetings in the 2020 group stage. The aggregate score was 4-2 on that. Um,
Hmm.
Chelsea have been a little hit or miss this year.
I totally agree.
They were top of the Premier League for a little while. Um, it seems that Lukaku is struggling a little bit as well. I thought, personally speaking, after the year he had with Inter and with Belgium, I thought that I thought the one thing that that Chelsea team was missing from last year was that pure number nine. And when I saw that they got him, I was like, man, this Chelsea team just won the Champions League, and they signed a player like Lukaku, but then he hasn't really hit his
No,
form. Uh, do you think that he can make the difference? However,
I think he can. I think Lukaku's a good striker, but I think the issue with him in the Premier League is the Premier League is technical. It's quite a technical league,
yep,
and I mean, with all due respect to the man, he has the touch of a bed frame.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but he is big. He's strong. He knows how to finish. He can turn defenders, and he's quick for his size too.
yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing
And
is,
he has
yeah, like on the ball, he's not the greatest, but
no,
he is very quick and he's obviously big and strong. Like defenders have to foul him. He's also clinical. So I
yeah,
think that one key, not just in the tie, but just in the Champions League and just Chelsea's, chances in general, they find a way to um, get Lukaku operating in their system under Tuchel and everything. I think that they're going to be pretty dangerous. Um,
yeah.
one thing, I guess, speaking both as Canadians, Jonathan David has been balling this year for Lille. Do
Oh
we
yeah.
think that this is just kind of a good run of form, or do we think that he's actually the real deal and can kind of turn into, you know, I don't know, I don't want to say a world class striker, but do we think that this could be something we see more consistently?
I think this is something we could see more consistently. I think even towards the tail end of last year when Lille actually won the Ligue 1, I
Mhm.
think he was scoring some goals.
Yeah.
For Canada, he's a little,
I
but
mean, to be fair, it's also the Canadian side's not
yeah,
the strongest, right?
he's
So,
certainly not playing with the players that are in Lille. But
right.
I think he's the real deal. I think even in the Champions League, he's had a couple of really good
Yeah.
performances in the league this year too. I think he's the real deal.
Yeah. And he's only 21. That's another thing is he's so young, and I think the reason why you're even seeing a little come up in like Canadian soccer, they're top of the table in the CONCACAF for the World Cup qualifications, is a lot of these Canadian players are not just staying in North America. They're not just going in the MLS. They're not just in the Mexican League. They're moving to Europe. You see Alfonso Davies, who is a world class fullback. Something that you saw him get signed for, I think, what, like 15 million from Vancouver Whitecaps to Bayern, and then
Yep.
you see, even just from like a training aspect or something, the jump from Europe to North America is just catastrophic. So seeing someone like him, I'm not surprised. A player that has quality, moving to a team in Europe, they can really get the best out of them. That being said, Lille should not be underestimated. They have an inconsistent team, but with that being said, over two legs, you don't know what team you're going to see. You could see the team that was capable of winning the Ligue 1, or you could see a team that loses against inferior opponents. Um, I do think one thing that is Conte and Jorginho are going to need to dominate the midfield. Um, I think with those two, uh, really open up a lot of space for everyone else to operate, like the Kai Havertz's, the Mason Mount, the Lukaku's. Those two really give them the freedom to go out and attack. I do think
Hmm.
that's one aspect that Chelsea need to um, exercise, and it should be uh, going easy from there. I don't know. What do you make of that from that
I
aspect?
think also I think also for Chelsea, a big thing was their fullbacks. You know, the Reece James, the Chilwells.
Yep.
They get forward a lot and provide a lot of offense, but both of them picked up some pretty bad injuries now.
I think
And
Chilwell's done
along
for
with,
the season actually too.
yeah, I think he tore his ACL or something
Yeah.
like that. And now Thiago Silva's out for a bit too. So I think injuries are a little worry for Chelsea, and I think we saw that yesterday. I was watching. I forget who they were playing, but they lost in the 90th minute, and they weren't very convincing. So I
Yeah.
think I think I'd be a little worried if I was a Chelsea fan.
Yeah. I do think that I think their inconsistencies are like a little different. I do think that Chelsea are the favorites and they are going to win. With that
Yeah.
being said, you see, um, Alex, shut up. Um, if you see the Lille team that is capable of winning the league, and you see the Chelsea team that is underperforming a little bit, we could be seeing an upset. However, based off of form and just looking at it on paper, I think that Chelsea are going to win. I do think it's going to be close. I'm going to say a 3-2 aggregate score for Chelsea.
Yeah, I agree. I think Chelsea are probably going to see this one through. I'll go 2-1 Chelsea.
For Chelsea.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to another Premier League team, we have Manchester United versus Atletico Madrid. These two teams have not met since 1991. Atletico won the tie. I do think one kind of storyline here is obviously Ronaldo gets to play Atletico Madrid again. Do we think that Cristiano Ronaldo will break Atletico Madrid hearts once again?
I mean, you can never say no to Ronaldo ever. You can never count him out.
Mhm.
But I think I don't know. I think Man United are so inconsistent, but like they
Yep.
play more consistently bad than they do good. There's
Right.
like 5 bad performances, 1 good performance, and
Yeah.
that good performance usually means a 90th minute winner from Ronaldo.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough one because as much as Man United are inconsistent, so are Atleti, right?
Yeah,
So it's gonna be a tough one because they both show their inconsistencies, and I feel like it's kind of the same thing where you see more bad performances than good ones. Um, what version of the teams do you think that we'll see?
it's tough to say. I think for me, for Manchester United, because I watch probably the team I watch the most is Manchester United. I think without Paul Pogba in that team, there's no chance. I don't think if Pogba doesn't play in both legs, I think Atletico Madrid will probably see it through.
Mhm.
Because I think without Pogba in that midfield, there's no creativity in Manchester United's side.
Yeah,
Like I watch a lot of Menu, and I don't. Bruno Fernandes is not a creative player,
yeah, yeah,
in my opinion, at least. There's a lot of hoofing the ball away from him. If you look at the amount of times the guy loses possession,
yeah.
it's terrible. I think Pogba's creativity and I think his movement is key.
Mhm.
Um,
I do think
yeah, I
with
think
Bruno too is statistically shows that he's a very good player, right? Um,
right, and he is.
and he is.
Like I'm
I'm
not gonna
not.
say
I'm
he's a
not
bad
gonna say
player.
that he's as a bad player. I don't think he's that world beater that everyone makes him out to be.
I agree.
He's obviously a good player, though. I do think that again he's a little inconsistent with because you could have a bad game and he gets a penalty. Not saying that you need to score it, but just because you have a goal in the stat sheet doesn't mean that you had a productive game or a good game, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Hmm.
so with that being said, I want to touch on both of the teams' defense because I feel like that is both teams' uh, like worst aspect. Um, I think it's going to be the better team defensively is going to win the tie because I think both
Yeah.
teams have enough attacking threat to score. I just don't know if I'm convinced on these teams' defense.
No, I think Harry Maguire is the Rabiot of the Premier League. The fact that Harry Maguire is the captain of Manchester United is unbelievable.
Yeah,
He is
it's pretty. Yeah,
terrible.
he's pretty shocking. Yeah,
If Griezmann's on his day, he's gonna have fun with him.
yeah. That's another thing
Griezmann
too.
struggled too, though.
Griezmann has struggled. Joao Felix has struggled.
Yeah.
I think if those two can try and hit their form, Suarez is looking, pretty solid again this year.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. This could honestly go either way. The one thing where I think the tie could be decided again is Ronaldo has a history of scoring against Atleti. He's like the ultimate clutch player. Um, I could see this one going into extra time and even potentially into penalty shots.
Yeah.
Um, however, I'm going to say I think United is going to take the edge on this one. Um, I'm going to say penalties. I'm going to say it goes down to penalties again. The GOAT is going to crush them. Um, I think it's going to go to penalties. I do think that United are going to go through. I'm going to say I'm going to say 3-3 on aggregate. Uh, with it going to extra time and then eventually to penalty shots.
Yeah, I agree. I think this for me is the closest tie out of all of them. I think this
Yep.
is the most evenly matched game.
Yep. I
Um,
agree.
I'm also going to take Manchester United because they have Cristiano Ronaldo. Um, 4-3 Man United, but like an extra time controversial penalty call.
Yeah,
Man
something
United
like
win
that.
off of that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Honestly, I think this one is the closest, not even in terms of just because they're like the two best teams, but because they're the most evenly matched
I agree.
in that
Similar
aspect.
form this year too. Like Man United's not struggling in Premier League and Atleti's struggling in La Liga. I think
Yeah.
I'm excited to. This is one I'm real excited to
Yeah,
watch.
this is gonna be a good one for sure. 99th minute of injury time. Ronaldo maybe pops one in, who knows. Uh
Yeah,
the last tie is Benfica versus Ajax. The last time these two clubs met was the 2018-19 season. Um, Ajax won the first time they played in the group stage and then tied against Benfica the second time. This Ajax team is it just came out of nowhere. They they
yeah.
they were one of the only teams to go 6-0 in the Champions League this year, along with Liverpool, and I think that was it.
Bayern as well went six
Bayern as
zero.
well. Uh, do we think that Ajax can go on another one of those magical runs this year that they did in 2018, 2019?
I mean, who's to say no? When I watched the game against Dortmund and I was like, oh, Haaland. I think Haaland was still playing at the time before his injury. I'm like, there's a chance. Played him off the park.
Yeah.
Like, like wasn't even close.
Mhm.
You know. I think this Ajax team is interesting.
Yeah,
It's
I
kind of almost like
think.
reminiscent of the run they went on. I think it was in 2019 or 18.
Yep.
It's like almost the same.
Right. Well, because after they lose, De Ligt, De Jong, Van de Beek, Ziyech, you'd think that that quality is going to kind of drop off, and um, they may not look like the team that they were before. But then you have these players like David Neres and Anthony, who's an absolute baller.
Oh yeah,
You see these guys come into the team, and then the amount of like youth team production that they get, where they sell these people for 80 million euros, 90 million euros, 100 million euros, but then they bring these 16, 17, 18-year olds up from their youth team and they replace them, without a hassle.
yeah. It's weird. I feel Ajax have historically always been like one of the premium talent making clubs.
Yep. A lot of
Like
them in
way
the
back, all
Portuguese teams and yeah.
yeah, even all the way back to Cruyff and recently from like Bergkamp to Zlatan, and now we have De Jong and Dole. I think
Yep.
they know what they're doing in Ajax.
Yeah, no, 100%. Um, I do think though that Benfica have a better team than their Champions League record shows this season. I was going through the roster and like they have a decently solid team. Um,
Yeah,
they could pose some problems for Ajax just because as much as they go 6-0 and they look really convincing. It like a part of me doesn't want to be overly convinced of them yet, just because Ajax isn't as big as a Bayern or a City or even like a Chelsea for that matter. Um, I just have a hard time, jumping on the train right away that they could, potentially even go on like and win it. But who's to say that they can't? Like you said, um, this team has a lot of dangerous players. Um, so who knows? But I do think that one thing Benfica struggles with is I was looking at their team sheets from some of their games, and they play a 3-4-2-1, so similar to what Chelsea play. Um,
hmm
and I'm looking at the players on their team, and their formation does not fit the players that they have. Uh,
yeah,
they're very good in attack and in midfield, but then they put so much pressure on their defense with needing the three center backs and then the two wing backs. I don't know why uh, they decide to go with this. So for that reason, I think that Ajax are just the better team. I do think that Ajax are going to go through. I could potentially see this one being a little bit of a barn burner. I don't think this is going to be a low scoring tie by any means. What are you thinking for your prediction and the score?
I think this is going to be an interesting game. But I think if Haller is able to keep
It's
scoring the
another
way he
one.
scores, I
He
think
came out of
I think
nowhere too, eh? Like crazy.
right flopped at West Ham, comes into Ajax and ties the record for goals in the group stage
In
for
the group
Champions
stage,
League. I
yeah.
think that's incredible. I think if he continues that form, then that's going to really carry Ajax far, especially with a player like Anthony
Yep.
beside him, who's just unbelievable to
Yep.
watch.
No, he's
I could
very
see
exciting.
Ajax beating. I could see Ajax beating Benfica.
Yep.
Benfica seem a little. I watched them against Barca. They seem a little wasteful in their opportunities. A
Oh
lot
yeah.
of like wide open nets were missed. I
Yeah.
mean, for both teams in the
For
game,
both
but
teams, yeah.
it was like
Because that game was what
concerning
three
almost.
three nil. That could have been
Yeah,
like 9-3. It could have
yeah.
for either team, right? So
Seriously.
you don't know which if they're going to be clinical or not. But one thing is I do think that Haller will be able to keep it up just because when he scores, it's not the fact that he's dribbling, five people and then, puts it top bins. The goals that he scores are very just poacher-esque. Does not need
Right
a
place,
lot
right
to,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't need a lot of movement from himself or whatever. He's positionally sound, and he scores, the goals that he's supposed to score, right?
Exactly.
Um, so I don't think that. Do I think that maybe him tying the Champions League record for goals is a little much from him? Yes, but I don't
Yeah,
see
of
him
course.
just falling off the face of the earth. I think that he's going to keep it up.
No.
Um, and who knows if they keep hitting this form, Ajax can, I think, go deep. I do think Ajax are going to win this one. I'm going to say I'm going to say 6-2 for Ajax.
Ooh,
Yeah,
barn burner. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go a little. I'm gonna go 4-2 Ajax.
4-2 Ajax.
But I definitely have Ajax going through in this one.
Yeah. So now that we've gone over all of uh the teams, I'm curious as to know maybe like your favorite for the Champions League or maybe a sleeper pick that you have.
I think my favorite personally is Bayern Munich. I think
Yep.
especially if Lewandowski's healthy. I think even last year he was unfortunately injured for both legs of the PSG
Yep.
the games. I think a
Goretzka
lot of
was too.
yeah, I think in a lot of the I think a lot of people said like if Lewandowski was playing, the chances that felt the Choupo-Moting
Yep.
Lewandowski would put in.
Mhm.
So I think Bayern are the favorites for me. And I think, listen, if Man United can come out on top against Atletico Madrid, I think they're a sleeper because no one expects anything from Manchester United this
Right. They
season.
could kind of come in under the radar
Yeah,
and yeah. Yeah, I think Bayern, even when Messi, and all those guys went to PSG, I don't think that they are complete enough, more so from a
I
midfield
agree.
aspect. Um, like we were talking about though, we were talking about the tie against Madrid. Um, though when you have three world-class players like Mbappe,
Yeah,
Neymar, Messi, anything is possible. They can achieve anything.
yeah,
Um, I don't know if I want to call them a sleeper, just based on the fact that like literally the three people I just named, I don't know if you can be considered an
yeah.
underdog.
It's just
Um,
strange.
and then again with Liverpool, I don't even know if I can call them a sleeper either. Uh,
Yeah, I think they're one of the favorites. I think the three favorites should be Man City, Bayern Munich, Liverpool.
yeah, I would
They've been the
agree.
most consistent within the leagues and within the Champions League. Even like that's just
Yeah, I do think the winner of the PSG Real Madrid tie, they're gonna.
yeah.
I would hope that they would build momentum off of that win and
Hmm.
potentially see themselves in the semi or even in the final. From
Yeah,
a bias standpoint, I hope that Juve go into the transfer market and actually pick up some more consistent options. Because I do think that the one thing that Juve has never lacked up until recently is that like Juventus spirit, that fino alla fide until the end. And I do think that they've missed a little bit of that, especially with the departure of the Buffon and the Ronaldo and players like Chiellini and Bonucci getting older. I think that if they can reignite that underdog mentality, because realistically, until Ronaldo went there, Juve were never um, even back when they played Real Madrid in the final in 2017, going up against a Barca team and like that, I don't know if you would consider them being like, oh my God, look at this team, they should win the Champions League, right? They had obviously they had world class players, but I think that it's just them collectively as a group. If they can reignite that team chemistry and that underdog fighting mentality, then I would hope that they can try and make a run. Like I said, though, the round of 16 has obviously been pretty um, harsh to them recently, and whether that's the fact of referees making horrible penalty calls or giving the ball away in
Oh
your
yeah.
own 6 yard box, um, it's it's up to them. Their own fate is in their own hands, and there's no more excuses for this team. So I can only hope that they go out and do their best. Um, so I think that's everything we wanted to touch up on, unless there's something else that you wanted to mention before we sign off.
No, I think we covered all the legs and all the teams pretty fairly.
Awesome. Well, so this is our way too early Champions League predictions. I've said it a couple times.
Yeah,
Um,
pre-transfer market.
Pre-transfer market, pre potential injury,
COVID
transfer,
restrictions,
COVID
whatever.
restrictions,
Yeah.
whatever. But we are going to come back and touch on this closer to the actual times and dates of the game, see where our heads were at now, and see where our heads are at in roughly a month and a half ish. So it's going to be interesting though. Champions League is one of the most entertaining competitions that you can watch in all the sports. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one. We appreciate everyone tuning in today. This is my first stream back in a while. Just I've been wanting to do this for a long time with John, and I have a lot of other people that I want to get on here too. It just everything got kind of sidelined with school and being busy and stuff. But hopefully now, like over the break and next semester, I should have a little more free time. I do want to get this rolling again. So I appreciate everyone coming by. Since the last time I did this was in the summer. This video should be on YouTube. I'm gonna try and get it up tonight. If not, hopefully within the next day or two. I hope everyone had a good Christmas if you guys celebrated. I hope you guys have a good New Year. And we will talk to you guys soon. So we appreciate you guys stopping by.